Hello. If you're watching this video, that means you've chosen to rent my 2016 BMW M4 from Toro. And I thank you very much. But before we get started, there's a few instructional videos I'd like you to watch before I can hand over the keys. Once you finish and completed watching the video, I will give you instructions on how to access the keys. Let's get started. First thing I'd like you to do is take a few photos from each corner of the car. First angle is this. Next angle is this. This angle. And this angle as well. You can also take a few from the top. I'd like you to use the Toro app that's on your phone to add trip photos. That way I will have access to the same photos that you've taken prior to your trip. The first thing that you need to know about this BMW is it sits very low to the ground. Therefore, you have to be mindful when approaching a curb or any parking medians because the car will not go over them. You have to be able to stop clear of those curbs or parking medians. The next thing you need to know is everything in this car is keyless entry. Therefore, if you have the key in your hands or in your pocket, you should be able to unlock the door by just putting your fingers on the door handle, or to lock it, you put your finger on top of the door handle. When opening the trunk, there's a button that you can pull underneath here that allows the trunk to open. You apply some force to open the trunk if the key's in your pocket. This is a partition that needs to be down if you plan on putting the roof down during your trip. You pull it up if you plan on not putting the roof down and you want to have more trunk space. But if you do plan on putting the roof down, you pull this partition, which will still give you plenty of luggage space underneath, as long as it's underneath this partition. But do not put any cargo in either of these side spaces if you plan on putting the roof down, because that will have an impact on the mechanism. If you want to close the trunk, no need to slam it. You just pull it down gently and it will soft close by itself. Now let's talk about one of the few ways to put the roof down on this car or to get inside the car. Using the key, you can unlock the door. But if you want to put the roof down, you can hold the key unlock button extensively, which will operate the roof. You have to be at a close enough distance for the mechanism to work. This operation takes about 19 seconds. You can also do this from inside the car if you are at a complete stop or if you are traveling 10 miles an hour or less. You will continue holding this key until you see and hear a notification in the front of the car which tells you that operation is complete. Please do not stop the operation until you hear that notification. Otherwise, the car will give you a warning if you start operating the car when the roof is not fully engaged or locked. Now let's get inside. When you are inside the vehicle, I'd like you to put your foot on the brake and then push the start, which will turn on the vehicle. And I'd like you to take a few pictures, or at least one picture, of the gas mileage and the gas level. First thing you need to know when driving this car is how to operate the shift lever. This is not your typical shift lever. The best thing to know is most shift levers, you go up and down to go from park to drive or to reverse. This is a little bit different. This goes up, down, left, and right. Okay? To put the car in drive, you put your foot on the brake, then you move the lever to the right. and you'll see the DS light up, okay? And then in the dash, you'll see it says 1D, okay? Now if you toggle the shift lever to the right again, you'll see the plus and minus sign light up, and you'll see a 1. The D goes away, which means that it's in sport mode. Sport mode will require you to shift by yourself by going up or down on the shift lever or using the paddle shifters. If you want to go back to regular driving without any sport mode required or shifting yourself, you toggle back to the right. Now if you accidentally hit the drive more than once or more times than you want, you might accidentally be in sport mode, so you have to be mindful of that and keep toggling until you're at the mode that you're looking for. To put the car in neutral, you push the lever to the left. To put it in reverse, you go left and up. When you put the car in reverse, you have to put your foot on the brake, put it in reverse. When you put it in reverse, the reverse cameras appear. If you tap down on the iDrive controller, you'll also get an overhead view, which allows you to see how close you are parking to a curb if you are parallel parking. You can press it again to go back to the reverse camera. When you put the car back in neutral or back in drive, you'll notice that the camera is still on, which means the car is assuming you're still trying to get in and out of a parking space. So the best way to alleviate that, if you plan on removing this camera, is if you start driving forward at least 20 miles an hour, it will shut off by itself, or you can press this parking sensor button, which brings you back to your normal screen. The other buttons that you need to be aware of are these vehicle dynamic buttons. There's another camera button here, which gives you a side view of the front of the camera. So if you're approaching an intersection or getting out of a driveway and you want to be able to see into traffic without having to poke the entire car out into the street, you can use this camera button. You can turn it off again by pressing it or by driving 20 miles an hour or faster. These are the dynamic buttons of the car, which affects how the vehicle behaves when you're driving it. This is the vehicle stability control, which I recommend not touching and keeping that on because this car has a lot of power, and pressing this will make it a little bit difficult to manage the vehicle when you're driving. This button is the throttle response. The car, when you toggle through it, the car has multiple modes on how the throttle responds. There's efficient, which is more gas efficient and a safer way to ride the car. Sport is a little bit more aggressive. There's a lot more throttle response and the car drives a lot faster when you press the accelerator. And Sport Plus gives maximum power, which can be exhilarating, but you have to be very careful when you're in this mode. There's also the same that you can do with the suspension. The steering, the suspension can be stiffened based on if you go from Comfort, Sport, or Sport Plus, and the steering can be stiffened based on Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, depending on what type of driving you want to do with the vehicle. This button right here is the gear ratio button, which allows you to tell the car how fast you want to shift gears. As you toggle through it, it goes from 1, 2, or 3. I recommend 1 or 2 if you're just doing basic city driving. If you bring it to the max, I recommend you only use that for highway driving. Now, when putting this car in park, the best way to do that is when you drive up to the parking spot, you put your foot on the brake, you pull the brake lever, and then you take your foot off the brake, then you press the engine stop button. Now keep in mind the engine is off and you'll see that it says park, P for park, but the car is still on. So you have to push the button one last time to turn the car off. Now that the car is off, I can show you some other features on the car. To put the roof down, you push the button. You pull this button up to put the roof up, which you'll see the mechanism operate. And you wait for a notification. If you keep holding on to the button, the windows will operate to close up as well. This car is fitted with neck warmers, which will blow hot air out the back of the at the top of the seat. There's 3 levels for both passenger and driver. There's also heated seats for passenger and for driver. If you'd like to know more about the vehicle, I do have instructional manual that is fitted in the glove box. Right here. The registration is located in the same pouch. Registration and the Toro insurance card, which is the card that you should use if you get pulled over and they ask you for registration and insurance. Now let me show you a few things outside of the vehicle. Let me pop the roof up. Now let's get out so I can show you some of the final features of the car. Now this car is fitted with 4 seats for 4 passengers. So this is the wind deflector, which is an option to keep on. If you're driving with just 2 people, I recommend it because it helps keep minimal wind into the cabin. If you'd like to remove it, you just fold it back. You pull it up. You press this button here to put the seat back. And then you stuff it behind the seat, like so. To go into the back seat, you can open the door. You pull this lever in the back of the seat. You pull the seat forward. This button allows you to adjust the seat position. This gives you ample room to get into or out of the back seat. When you pull the seat back and you push the button, the seats automatically go back to its original position, or the person in the back will have easy access to adjust the seat forwards or backwards on their own. This is an option for both seats in the front. And when you open the trunk, as you were before, you'll notice that there's a lot less trunk space. If you want to access all your cargo from underneath, you press this up button. Once the light goes off, the operation will begin to remove the roof to give you access. So you will keep holding this button until the green light goes back on. Then you can let go of the button. Then you can pull up the partition, which gives you access to all your belongings. And you can bring it down if you want to put the roof back down. You push this down button, which brings the roof down and closes the trunk. I hope you enjoyed this video.